everyone, my name's Sarah and I'm going to be teaching a lesson on poetry. It's actually a specific type of poetry called Jue Ju Poetry. This originated from China and we'll learn more about that in a second. But going back to the book that we read last week called Winter in Songming, we were learning about the culture there and what life was like for a boy and his brother. So let's get started. So we agreed, if you remember, last week we were talking about what we didn't know about Songming. Things like what we were asked the question, what is winter like in Songming? Where is Songming? And what is life like in Songming? So with that, when we were discussing the story, we came up with a lot of good ideas. We did a little bit of research and found, after reading the story, that what we know now, families make improvements to their homes in the winter. Songming is actually a county in China, and the children in Songming have chores like feeding the pigs and helping their parents prepare dinner for the people there. So some vocabulary terms that we need to be familiar with. The first one is Taoism. It's one of the three major philosophies from China and was founded by Lao Tzu. The poet that we're going to be studying about that actually writes Jue Ju poetry, his name is Li Po, and he was one of China's very well-known poets. He's very popular over there. The next word that we're going to be learning about, Chengdu, and this is the place where the poet Li Po grew up. The last word, Sichuan, it's a province near Songming County in China. Let's just keep these vocabulary words in mind as we're going through the lesson. If you have any questions, just let me know. So here's a visual of where Songming is located. This is where the poet Li Po, he lives very close to, and where our story, Winter in Songming, is located. Here's a picture of the world map, right over here. As you can see, we are all the way over here, and China is all the way over here. And we have Africa and South America. Okay, so if you take a look at the handout that I gave you, Jue Ju Poetry, let's just go over some basics about the actual style of poetry. So this type of poetry has 4 lines. Each line has the same number of syllables. So what that means is everyone knows what a syllable is in different words. So, for instance, if the first line that you're writing about has 7 syllables, the second line has to have 7, the third line has to have 7, and the fourth line has to have 7. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Any questions so far? Okay. So, what mood or feelings are the example poems trying to convey? So let's take a look at this handout, the poetry of Levi. So I'm going to read the first poem. So as you listen, pay attention to how Li Po wrote about nature. So I want you to be thinking about what emotions or moods you feel when I say the poem out loud. So the first one's called Thoughts on a Still Night. Before my bed, the moon is shining bright. I think that it is frost upon the ground. I raise my head and look at the bright moon. I lower my head and think of home. So this is an example of Jue Ju Poetry that we're talking about. So how many syllables does this poem have? So, before my bed, the moon is shining bright. So that's 10. So that's a lot of syllables. You still have to have 4 lines. Remember, that's the key of writing Jue Ju poetry. So let's think about that. So there's another handout called Staying the Night at a Mountain Temple. It looks like this. Does everyone have that handout?
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about some of the differences of the translations of the poems. So in version 1, this one right over here, this one is the Chinese version. This is the poem written in Chinese characters, Staying the Night at a Mountain Temple. So let's take a look. So what are some of the differences that we notice right away? Okay, number 1, the characters look completely different than the English version here. The second picture in the middle that you see on your paper, that's obviously written in English. So let's read that out loud. Staying the night at a mountain temple. The high tower is 100 feet tall. From here one's hand could pluck the stars. I do not dare to speak in a loud voice. I fear to disturb the people in heaven. So that's really, talking about nature and, speaking in a tone, not too loud. And then let's look at the third picture. This one is version 3. This is an example of the poem written using the art form of Chinese calligraphy. So notice the difference between the first picture and the third one. This one is handwritten in Chinese calligraphy. So what are some differences in other types of handwriting that we see? Another different language that uses characters and symbols is the Japanese culture. When they write, their words are similar to Chinese. So we might, at a later time, we might practice writing Chinese characters and put them up in the classroom for art. So now let us brainstorm. So let's talk about some topics that we can write for our own poetry. I just want you to keep in mind that the poem usually has 5 or 7 syllables in each line. There's 4 lines. And usually, let's try and, connect that to nature, how Li Bo, the poet, connects his poems to nature. So let's kind of brainstorm for some topics. What could we write about? We could write about, waterfalls, going hiking, trees, plants, flowers, things like that. And I'm going to give you 20 minutes to write your poem. And then at the end of the class, volunteers can share if they'd like. So while you're thinking about that, I'm just going to, throw some more ideas out there about other topics. And let's try and relate them to the Winter in Songing, the book that we discussed and read last week. So we could talk about people's attitude towards snow. Not everyone likes the snow. Snow, is very cold. It's very wet, and some people really like the snow. We can think about activities that occur during the winter in Songming, like how Zadu, he was helping his father build houses, and he was learning that skill to construct a house with a perfect right angle, 90-degree angle. And we can think about Zadu in his room at sunrise and him and his brother caring for the pigs. So let's just think about that for a moment and go ahead and do your best. Let me know if you have any questions. And is there anyone that wants to share their poem?
I do.
Liang?
Yes. The trees protect the clean air. The trees protect the rich soil. The trees protect the water. How can we protect the trees?
That's very good. That's very good. So let's think about how many syllables did he use in his poem. So the first line you mentioned, the trees protect the clean air, right? Okay, so let's count them together. The trees protect the clean air. So that's 7. So that's right. That's right on target. Let me know if anyone else has any questions. Thank you for sharing, Liang, your poem. That was really great. And what we'll do after everyone is done writing their poem, we'll go ahead and sketch out some pictures, and we can hang them up in the classroom for artwork. So let me know if anyone has any questions. Thank you.